Topic for today is going to be stealth nutrition. Okay, this is something I'm really excited about. So I have a PhD in nutrition science. I've been doing this for 25 years. And I got funding from the federal government. I recruited people. I fed them. I bled them. I checked what was in their blood to see if we were making things any better. And at the end of the day, I was saying, eat this many grams of fiber and this many milligrams of antioxidants. And people's eyes kind of glazed over because they don't really actually shop for fiber or cook antioxidants. They shop for food and they eat food. So a partner of mine, Tom Robinson, this fabulous pediatrician on campus, we applied for this NIH grant about a decade ago, maybe more at this point, where we were trying to respond to a request for how do you move young adults? So it's hard enough to get older adults to change their behaviors, but man, those youngins, they feel impervious. And so how can we capture them? And we thought, really, this dry science, geeky stuff totally isn't going to work. Let's try something hipper. Let's try social values that resonate with them. And we wrote this grant up, and it had nothing to do with health. It all had to do with identity values, types of things like that. And the grant didn't get funded, and we realized we didn't have any pilot data. And so to get some pilot data, Tom had this brilliant idea that we would start a class on the Stanford campus called Food and Society. And the class has now been running for about a decade, but I got to tell you, the first year we ran it, we had no idea exactly what was going to happen. Didn't have any scientific papers. We read all popular books. We read Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan. We showed the film King Corn. We read Marianne Nestle's Food Politics. We talked about lots of different topics, but really not about food. And as the course progressed and the students talked about all these different food issues, sort of the broken food system, social justice issues, and equity, they really got engaged in the topic and saw how disconnected they were with food. And as the course went on, we heard more and more of them talking about how they're trying new things in their diet, trying to eat more plants, trying to eat less packaged processed food. And at the end of the day, we finished the class up, and we looked around the room and we said, this was pretty fun. We might run this class again. So we're curious what readings you liked the most and what topics resonated with you the most. So tell us a little bit about it. And so the first student in class with some tears rolling down her face said, gosh, the whole animal welfare and rights thing, I didn't know. There was so much abuse. I've gone vegetarian while I was in the class. Please keep that reading. And we said, okay. Went to the next student and said, I grew up on a ranch, and we actually always treated our animals really well. So that part of the reading didn't get me at all, but wow, that hooked to climate change. I really had no idea about the impacts, the way agriculture's done and livestock are raised. I didn't realize what a huge impact that had on greenhouse gases, climate change. So, boy, I've eaten less meat lately. I get grass-fed and pasture-raised. I'm really much more conscious about the animal foods that I eat. And another student said, neither of those things resonated with me, but what really got me was the human labor abuses. I had no idea that slaughterhouse workers had the most dangerous jobs in the world. I kind of knew that agricultural field workers had a bad time. I didn't realize it was that bad. And then I've been to a lot of fast food restaurants. I really didn't think about how abusive some of that system was. So really no training. You work at this job. You can be fired on the minute. Anybody can come in and replace you because their main job is to push a button. It's all been mechanized, so there's no real skill training, and they don't get paid well. They're very expendable. It was the human labor abuse that was the thing for them. Said, I really stopped eating fast food. So at this point, you have to imagine that I'm just giggling with delight, because here I spent 20 years trying to get people to eat more plants, less meat, less processed packaged foods, more whole foods. And here we finished a Stanford class with students where we never talked about health. We really focused on topics like animal rights and welfare, global warming and climate change, and human labor abuses in the broken food system. And those topics resonated a lot. And interestingly, not every topic resonated with every student. So it's yet another example in my experience of the food world that there's no one solution for everyone. So what I really enjoyed is figuring out how many of these new tools I could have in my tool chest. So if I'm trying to motivate long-term behavior change, so choosing good foods, not for this week or next week, but for life, part of that could be young people trying to identify with their values and find their social group, and food is a great way to do that. So ironically, without focusing on health and really focusing on what we call social responsibility and engagement, the students were eating what I wanted them to eat anyway and making shifts in that direction without ever talking about health. So in the back of my mind, I know health is important. I studied nutrition. I got a PhD. I know all the biology to it. But behavior change, at the end of the day, is what works. And motivators for behavior change have always been a challenge for us. So I'm really intrigued about pushing this idea of stealth nutrition forward, not stealth in the way of deception. We weren't deceiving anyone. We just kind of did an end run, and we said, yeah, we know, we got all this stuff about metabolism and grams and milligrams, but have you really thought about how disconnected some of you are with the food system? And if you got a little more connected, it could relate more to your own personal values. So that's a topic I'm really interested in moving forward. Maybe that can help you with some of your behavior change.